Right, so this is the third of the perfect tenses we are looking at, and that's the past perfect tense. But before that, we're going to review our previous perfect tenses with a bit of a game of guess that tense. All right. So I have four sentences here. I've used this exact same question before, by the way. What tense is this? So we see John has played the piano. He has been a teacher for 2 years. Have they come home yet? Has he eaten his vegetables? Right. So what do you think this is? Hopefully, you can recognize that this is present perfect. We have our auxiliary verbs, um, has, oh, pen's not working. There we go. Has, have, and has. And then we have our past participles. Played, been is a linking verb there, by the way. Um, have come, has eaten his vegetables. Right. Now remember, when has or have is on its own, then it's normal present simple. If I say I have a piano, then that's not present perfect tense. It has to be the combination of this auxiliary verb and the past participle. Otherwise, it is not present perfect tense, right? All of them will have it. One, two. There it is. One, two, and one, two. Auxiliary verb and the um, the past participle there. Let's move on. Okay, what tense is this? John will have played the piano. He will have been a teacher for 2 years. Will they have come home yet? Will he have eaten his vegetables? Now again, you'll notice that there are two words that repeat every single time. It is will, have there. Okay, again, will, have, again, will, have, and will, have. Now immediately when you see the word will, my drawing's a little off there. Okay, when you see the word will, you know it has to be a future tense. But there's a past participle verb here in played and eaten and come and been. So will have played. We have our future perfect. Hopefully you can recognize that that is it there. And it must have the three parts in this one. One, two, three. Will have played. It can be shall have, but it's so rare that we use shall anymore. It's a very old-fashioned way of talking. Okay, so let's move on. So just to show you, just to review the present perfect form, right? It is either have plus past participle, or it is has plus past participle. I have eaten, she has eaten. Okay. For future perfect, right? We said he will have retired by the format looks like this. Will have and your past participle. Please remember, we must use our past participles, right? Not drove, but driven. Drove is for simple past, right? Some of them are the same, right? Because it will be he felt, but he has felt, so they will be the same, but other ones will be different, like swam and swum. And will have swam doesn't sound correct anyways. Okay, right, let's move on. So that brings us to past perfect. So past perfect is, it's a little tricky because here we have this line in the middle here. This is the present, right? This is now, if I can write that word on here. This is now. But the past isn't just one time. The past extends very far. So there are different times in the past. World War II and World War I happened in different times in the past, right? So if I put World War II right here, obviously World War II is in the past, but it's closer to the present than World War I. Right. So then I can say that World War I happened before World War II, but both of them happened in the past. right? So I can say by the time that World War II started, World War I had finished. So you're talking about a time in the past that is before another time in the past, right? But you're saying it in the present, right? So you're saying it in 2020, right? Or whatever year it is when you're watching this video. And this is when you're saying it. I'm saying this now. And let's say I'm a history teacher and I say World War II, or say World War I had already finished by the time World War II started. Okay, so let's look at the structure of this now that you understand it. So here it is again. You'll see here the meeting had already started by, so let's say it is now 12 p.m. So let's do another simpler example that's not history based. Okay, so I'm talking about it now, right? The meeting starts at 8. I arrived at 8:15. So there's the arrived. Okay, but the meeting started at 8. So the meeting had already started by the time I arrived. Now you can put already in there. It's an adverb. You don't need it. You can use it if you want. Okay. Here's a few more examples. Mom had cooked dinner, and you'll notice now the auxiliary verb that goes with our past perfect tense here is had, and that makes it nice and easy. It's actually the easiest of the three perfect tenses. Here we go. So she had finished the test, right? And here's our negative, had not or hadn't finished. And here's our question, had she finished? So the had just moves in front of the subject there. She is the subject. It just moves in front of the subject there. Okay, so quite simple. And you use the same past participle that you use in the other tenses. So in future perfect, you also use finished. In present perfect, you also use finished. So our first example that we're going to try and fix here, correct the verb and make it past perfect. Sam tell them the story by the time we got there. Now the first thing you need to do is that there is no auxiliary verb here, and past perfect will always have an auxiliary verb. So you need to put that in first. And what is the auxiliary verb? It has to be H-A-D. It must be had. Okay, for past perfect, it is always had. It can be had, it can be hadn't, it can be had not, right? But it has to be the word had. So when you put it in there, this is going to sound wrong. Sam had tell, right? Now, this one's easy because this verb's not going to change. So then you see, okay, had tell, it's going to change too. Had told. So get your auxiliary verb first, right? Do this part first, and then the rest will fall into place. Let's do another one. My children grow a lot when I saw them last year. So we have to change. Again, there's no auxiliary verb, so I have to put it in. We know what that auxiliary verb is. It has to be the word had. Oh, I'm so bad at drawing with my mouse. Has to be the word had, but had grow doesn't sound correct. Now the normal simple past tense is grew, but had grew is not correct. So it's going to have to be had grown. And there it is. So get your auxiliary verb correct first, and then get your past participle correct here, which is grown. Right, so this one's a little more tricky, and you might get something in the test like this where I give it to you in an existing tense, and you have to change it into past perfect tense there, right? So when you look at this one, oh, there's my drawing finally. Okay, so the first thing is you need the auxiliary verb had, but then you'll notice there is already an auxiliary verb here. So you have to get rid of this one first. You cannot say will had or had will. That is incorrect grammar. So get rid of that first and then change this into the past participle. And then it will turn into Paul had trained, right? Had is not an auxiliary verb that likes to be with other auxiliary verbs, likes to be on its own. Okay, it wants to be with this main verb here though, trained. Okay, right. I hope that clarifies past perfect